Good to be back. Thank you.
Can you just talk to us a little bit about how this fight kind of came together?
I just got back to Texas to start my training camp. I think I practiced twice. Um, then got a call, asked if I could fill in for February. I didn't know who the opponent was. I said yes. They said, what about December 16th? I said yes, and they were like, well, really the fight was supposed to be Saturday. Can you make Saturday? So I got on a plane that day and flew here to Las Vegas.
So when you heard the news, was there any hesitation because it's such short notice, or were you eager to kind of get that win back in 2023?
I mean, kind of both. It's having a long camp is scary. You have a lot of time to get hurt, so having no time to really get injured or anything is nice. Sue's already ready, so I don't know. It just seemed right. I have a good manager. I kind of just do what they say. They've always steered me in the right direction, and I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have this job if it wasn't for them. So if he says, hey, this is the fight you need to take, and they gave me 10 pounds, so easy weight cut, good fight, something that we were supposed to fight once before, so I really look forward to it.
What do you think of the matchup?
Great matchup. He's really exciting. His fight with Matt Schnell was really good. I want to fight a striker. I want to try to work some of my striking. I haven't really been able to do that. Through my whole career, I've kind of been eager to get to the ground, and even in the Makayev fight, I was winning the striking portion, and I still had this eagerness to try to get him to the ground. But when I'm sparring in practice, I mostly stay on my feet. So I would like to show the new skills that I have, and I haven't really been able to do that in my last few fights. And I'm getting older now, and I'm running out of chances to really show how good I am and how good I can be. So I feel like Sue's a good opponent for that.
Do you kind of picture this fight going 3 rounds, or do you feel like you can get in and out of there pretty quick with him?
I feel like this is a guy that I could possibly sub, but honestly, I want to fight for 3 rounds. I want to put on a performance. I like to have time in the cage. I like to get takedowns. I like to break records. I like to, you know what I mean? That's the place where I feel the most comfortable in my life is when that cage door shuts. So the more time I can spend in there, the better I feel.
And last question for me, I got to ask about the sponsoring the fighter. Could you tell us kind of how that went down and what the motivation behind that was?
Yeah, Tony actually hit me up, and he was like, hey, man, I just want to reach out and, say, I'm married to my wife. I love her so much, and I hate situations like this. So just reached out and was like, pat me on the back, I guess. And then he was saying something about trying to get sponsors. And I was like, hey, man, I'll send you some money for a sponsorship. And he was like, cool, I'm going to put your head on my banner. So I was like, all right, I'll give you $500 if you win, or when you show up, and $500 if you knock him out. So, he's a good dude. Has nothing I don't lose any thoughts over Kevin or anything. And, I wish him the best in his sports. People make mistakes all the time. But Tony seems like a really good guy. And, he's a good fighter. And that fight was fun to watch.
So just going off the back of that, was that more about Tony than it was the other situation? Or was it, there's a little bit of sweetness if we get a win here too?
Yeah, I mean, that's just, I wouldn't want to be the asshole that gives some guy money and puts my face on their banner and then them lose. That's not what I was. But I would have sponsored him anyway. He didn't have to put me on his banner. I just, I don't know. I know what it's like to have to dig for sponsors. I'm just now making money in the UFC. I've been at this game a long time, and I'm finally making good money. So I know what it's like to have to pinch pennies and sleep on people's couches and work while you're trying to train. It's not easy. So if I can help somebody out that is obviously a good dude, a good dad, a good husband, then no sweat off my back.
But both you guys typically are flyweights. This fight's at 135. Does it feel like any difference of, normally a lot of times people say, oh, there's a difference because I'm fighting up a weight class or anything, but you're still fighting another flyweight. Are there benefits to this, or was this just a matter of it was just about the weight issues?
Well, it's nerve-wracking for me because I feel like even though I'm a fairly big flyweight, one of my things that I'm best at is cutting weight. If it was a weight cutting competition, I'll win every time. I have no problem. I mean, it's a big problem to make weight, but I always do it. I have a good system. The people at the UFC PI have it down to a science. I just do exactly what they tell me, and making weight is usually one of the things I feel like I'm the best at. So, not having that in the back of my head, oh, we both have to make this weight cut. We both have to go through hell and then fight. I know I'm good at that. I know I'm good at punishing myself and then going into the fight. So it's a little weird not having to kill myself so much for this one. But, I think it'll make for a better fight, a more exciting fight. And, I could have came in here and made the weight probably, but it wouldn't have been healthy, and I wouldn't want to risk, missing the weight class and not doing what I said I was going to do. So either way, it's going to be tough. I'm still going to have a weight cut. That's just the way it goes. And I just feel like as far as for the fight goes, it's better. We'll both be recovered faster. We'll both be more rested, and we'll both be bigger.
What is your typical walk-around weight?
I vary. 152 to 148 is when I'm healthy and training hard.
So it's not too big of a difference.
Nah.
So, I mean, outside of even just the weight cut, having a short notice fight, are there other benefits that a lot of us on the outside don't really think about, a lot of us watching? I mean, I know a lot of times we talk about, there's no stress. You're not thinking about this fighter opposite of you for 8 weeks or 3 or 4 months. Are there other benefits that we don't maybe think about that a short notice presents?
For a guy like me, there's tons of benefits. I'll get in my own head. I have a hard time watching tape. If I watch tape on my opponent, I only see the good things that they do. And if I watch tape on myself, I only see the bad things that I do. So I'm my own worst critic. Having that time to, make my head bigger about how good this guy is, or how I should or try to beat him or not beat him, it's a big advantage. And also, I have less time to get hurt. I know I'm not injured right now. I've rested after my last fight. 10-week camp, there's a lot of time to injure yourself, get poked in the eye, get cut. I don't have to worry about that. I know I'm going to get a fight on Saturday.
And remind me, speaking of camps, is the current gym Next Generation
Yep.
MMA? So tell me a little bit about them and what sort of things and benefits that you've learned since you switched over there.
It's just different. I was with a really good team. We had a lot of UFC guys in Kansas City, maybe the best room in the world as far as guys my size go. And then things changed, and I ended up going to Texas. It was there wasn't 50 guys on the team, you know what I mean? There was 5 or 6 at the time when I got there. Now there's 14 maybe. There's one captain, and everybody else just follows suit. Chris Brennan is the general, and everybody listens to him. There's no pecking order. Nobody challenges it. When I'm there, I stay at his house. He lives in a beautiful house, and him and his son live there together. His son is Chris Brennan. He's 10 in the world now in Bellator. He's 22, I think. They don't drink, they don't smoke, they don't stay out late, they don't eat bad food. When I go there, all my meals are made for me. They get up in the morning and they sauna and then they cold plunge. They have a routine that I've just never been a part of before. I've always kind of half-assed my mornings and then went to practice, and that was the bulk of my day. But now I have a whole set thing of what these guys do, and I feel like a professional athlete. And now I'm getting paid like a professional athlete. So if any time there was a time for me to turn things around, it's right now.
I was going to say that probably helped it feel like you're reinvigorating your career as well with the switch of scenery as well.
Yeah, when I first went there, I was like, man, I'm going to be staying in the gym. I'm going to go back to that old school way of living on somebody's couch and then, just living that fighter lifestyle. But when I went there, Chris let me stay at his house, and that wasn't the case. They had somebody in there making all my food. It's a beautiful house. Everything except for getting my laundry done and folded for me is taken care of. And so paying my percentage to my coach is not a problem. I would pay him more if he asked for more, but he actually asked for only 5% this camp or this last fight. So he's even giving me a discount on what I would be paying him. And if he asked for more, I would pay him more, because I feel like I wouldn't. I don't know where I'd be if it wasn't for him. My coaching luck has kind of been wishy-washy, but I've had great coaches, and Chris is definitely one of them.
Now that he's just heard you say that he'll take more money, I'm sure next time that percentage is going to change a little bit.
I don't think he's that guy, man. He's really not. He's not trying to get rich off of this. What he wants is his son to be a world champion, and he thinks me being at the gym can help that. So I'm just, he's such a good dad. I'm getting some trickle down of, his love for his son, which I admire and I appreciate.
Well, speaking of that, especially with your experience in all these fights, how does it feel to give back to all the young upcoming fighters that are at a new upcoming gym?
Man, it's great. Honestly, I'm the only guy in the UFC, and then Lucas is the Bellator guy. But for the most part, our team is all amateur guys, and they're good. They're gonna have a hard time finding amateur fights because they're so good. But they're practicing like the professionals do. They're doing everything, if not more than what I'm doing, and they're doing it constantly. I'm just doing my camps there, and I feel bad about that. Chris wants me to be there full time, but I can't be back. I have to be back and forth since I have a daughter. So the gym is really thriving right now with a small team and having Chris as the leader.
That's awesome. Last one, just going back to this fight. When you look at this fight, I'm sure it's played out in your head. Even though it is a short notice, I'm sure it's played out in your head. What are your keys to the victory? What needs to happen to make sure that you get your arm raised on Saturday?
I mean, we were supposed to fight once before, but
Back in 2021, right?
Yeah, he's sharp. He's got good feet. He's heavy-handed. I'm gonna have to also fight a little bit smart, which is, that's not my strong suit. And the smartest way would be take him down and try to get a submission, but I'm not. I'm just not about that right now. I'm trying to show all my skills, and like I said, I want to put a real performance together, and I only have 15 minutes to do that. So I'm just gonna stay on him for 15 minutes and try to have fun. That's the most important thing. If I'm having fun, then I'm winning.
And I'm glad you brought that up. I thought about that part where you guys almost fought in 2021. You have a fight that's like that, and then it gets called off for whatever reason. Do you follow those particular fighters? Do you still track them? Have you been tracking his trajectory as well? And do you envision him being a much different fighter now than he would have been back if you fought in 2021?
Yeah, of course. I mean, he's been at a couple different gyms. He's not training over in China anymore. He's training with good wrestlers. He's he trained with Makev for a long time at American Top Team. So I expect him to be a totally different fighter, and I expect him to be big and strong at 135 pounds. I mean, he's taller than me. He's got 6 inches of reach on me. He's going to be a big guy. So it's one of those things in the flyweight division. You kind of follow everybody. It's just now getting big. It's as popular as it's ever been, and I've said that 5 years in a row, but it just keeps getting better.
Sorry, I meant to ask: is the wrap on the nose, is that just an aeration, breathing?
Yeah, just so I can
wrap?
breathe.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I didn't expect it was a cut, but I just figured I would ask just to check. Best of luck on Saturday.
Thank you, sir.
Hey, Tim. Have you thought more about moving to Texas and having your daughter switch schools, or is it kind of like you're waiting?
I mean, I'm lucky that her mother is so great. She also lives in Kansas City, but I already did that once. I left Kansas City and went to Las Vegas when my daughter was 2, just her and I. And her mom allowed me to do that because I could spend all day with her at the gym. I didn't have to put her in daycare. My daughter's never done daycare, or when she went to school for the first time was the only time that she'd ever really been away from me. But I already did that once. I took her to Vegas and tried to make it in the UFC, and we did that. And now she was living with me in Kansas City, and to move and take her away from her mom again, I can't do that. And her mom is so supportive; she would probably allow me to do that, but I wouldn't want to do that to her mom or to Sterling.
I wanted to ask about your last fight. I guess what was the biggest lesson you learned from that, and I guess what were the emotions like, because you were up on the scorecards last round. What were the thoughts on that fight?
I thought it was a good fight. I wasn't really in the fight. I felt great. My cardio was fine. The weight cut was good. I just wasn't really having fun. Again, I felt like it was one of those times where I knew he wanted to grapple me and I was winning the striking, and something in the back of my mind was still wanting to engage in the grappling, even though I knew that was not the right thing to do. And then by the time I was on the ground, I just assumed that I was down 2 rounds and started getting desperate and got caught in a submission that I've been caught in before. But I was there in that fight. I felt good. Everything was fine. I just wasn't really having fun. It was a weird anxiety fight, and usually that's like my stress-free zone, is to get in there and mix it up with somebody. But nothing against Muhammad, man. He fought a great fight, and he's good. He's strong. He's going to get better. I didn't hit my man strength until I was like 25, 30, so he's only going to get better.
And finally, for me, there is a flyweight title fight next weekend. Who do you got? Who do you got in that between Brandon and Pantoja?
Man, that's tough. I think Brandon is the most dangerous guy per second and maybe in the UFC. When I fought him, I never felt like I was in control or that I was winning, and I was ragdolling him until the point where he submitted me. But Pantoja is just all around a gritty, good. You can't make mistakes. He's one of the best. But if I was a betting man, and I'm not, I'm going Brandon Royval on that. He's tricky and he's dangerous.